Your station for up-to-the-minute news, intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversation. 96.9 FM. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
Good morning and welcome to Guardian Radio AM. Today is January 3rd. Today is Wednesday and it's a little after 11 o'clock in the morning. Once again, this is CA Newry and I shall be your host for today on this Man Down Mash Up Wednesday. Mash Wednesday means that we mash together two shows. We mash together On the Clock with Aaron Green with Guardian Radio AM with CA Newry, where we interrogate the news. Today's news is a November, which date is that? 25th?
November 25th.
The November 25th speech that the Prime Minister made in Lyford Key. We had, I want to thank him, the Director of Communication of the government, Mr. Latrey Ramming, who made commentary about it. He mentioned the word leaked. He used the word leaked meeting or leaked document. Guardian Radio AM and On the Clock Radio came across a 60, how much page was that?
61 pages.
61-page document that the Prime Minister's speech itself, right? Again, this is a leaked document, apparently, that has been now circulating. So hopefully you get a copy of the 61-page document where the Prime Minister addressed the Lyford Key Club residents of that, right? There is a news article by Guardian newspaper. Yes. So you can actually read that. And I want Aaron Green read the first paragraph of that, right? Where the Guardian media attempted to get a copy of this speech and was declined. So on November 25th, and shortly thereafter, apparently the media, Guardian, found out that there was a meeting and said, hey man, we need a copy of that speech. Can we get a copy? And was declined. I want to just read that into the records and then we will interrogate parts and bits and pieces of the 61-page speech, the leaked document. That's a word that the Director of Communication used in general. So go ahead.
All right, so we're reading from an article in Friday, the 29th of December last year, the 23rd, 2023. Nassau Guardian. The title is, In Speech at Lyford Key, PM hits at economic inequalities. While the period from 1967 to 1992, and especially after independence in 1973, remains, quote, the most transformational time in our post-independence history, close quotes, Ingram administration policies meant that those who already had significant capital did very well, and there was no significant positive impact on national development under a Minnis administration, Prime Minister Philip Davis said in an address to the Lyford Key Club. The address was made on November 25th. The Office of the Prime Minister declined a Nassau Guardian request for a copy of the speech shortly after it was given, saying it was a private meeting.
I want you to pause there because I want us soak in, right? It said that it was a private meeting that the Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas had with Lyford Key, residents of Lyford Key. It was a private meeting, therefore media could not get access to what the Prime Minister said, therefore the people of the Bahamas could not get access or could not know, was declined to know what was said to the people in Lyford Key.
Mm-hmm. I just want to say give an example of how this can play out unfairly. So no media present outside of the state machinery, right? You don't give local media a copy of the speech, but how are you certain that you prevented members of the audience from recording the presentation?
The Prime Minister hint about some people getting an advantage, a historical advantage. Mm-hmm. again, the idea that they get access to the speech is another advantage
that they would have.
have.
And I just want to say that it's interesting. I just got the speech this morning as I was coming into the station. And in a brief perusal, a brief scan of said speech, you have to read the article and read the speech for greater context. And
context.
hopefully we can sort of balance both of those in today's discussion. Do you want me to keep reading?
Could read a little bit and highlight the interesting part.
The Prime Minister's speech was yesterday widely circulated on social media. Davis said the initial parceling out of the country's natural resources means that those who benefited were given an enormous head start in terms of the ability to accumulate capital and wealth. Quote, today we can easily see how that generational wealth has conferred economic security upon those families. Close quotes, he said.
You ever heard the story about the 20 families? Like a rumor mill that there were 20 families called in by the former Prime Minister Lyndon Pinglen, and the Bahamas was divvied out. Have you ever heard that story? I'm not saying it's true or not, but have you ever heard anything like that? And the reference of the 20 families?
No, but I do remember a famous quote from former Prime Minister Hubert Ingram at a meeting. And apparently he looked up toward the back of the room and said, some people want to own everything. Expletive everything.
Yeah, the D word.
Yeah. Expletive everything. I remember that.
Yeah. But finish. I only make reference to that, right? Because he mentioned families. There is a story that goes around about the sharing out of family or wealth. Bohemian.
What was the meeting when they cut up Africa? What's the name of the meeting? I'm supposed to remember.
The Scramble for Africa, actually. That's what they call it.
They call it Scramble. There's the formal title of the meeting when they divvied up Africa like a piece of Johnny cake. We continue from the article in Speech at Life at Key PM hits at, quote, economic inequalities. Quotation. This is what enabled the infrastructural interests and holdings they have since accrued. Assessing the first 50 years of independence, the Prime Minister said, from 1967 to 1992, and especially after independence in 1973, the speed and extent of the changes of those years were immense. Up until now, it remains the most transformational time in our post-independence history. Now, I want to segue back to the speech. This is an excerpt directly from the speech. It's very interesting. He says, from 1967 to 1992, and especially after independence in 1973, the speed and extent of the changes of those years were immense. We've been in the same area. Up until now, it remains the most transformational time in our post-independence history. If you want to see a tangible expression of those changes, contrast the Yellow Pages phone book in 1967 with that of 1992. Look at the faces of the professionals advertising there. When you survey the ads for doctors, lawyers, accountants, architects, engineers, and so on, it is striking the change you see during that period in the racial and national profiles of those professionals. Education and capacity building had brought about a new and sizable middle class of successful Bahamians. Full stop.
What happened in 1992? You notice that the Prime Minister stopped. Something drastic happened in 1992 that the Prime Minister is critiquing, that we were on a upward pathway. Then 1992 happened, and then everything stopped. The progression, development, the infrastructural time finished in 1992. What happened in 1992?
You said so many words, I have to respond directly to the question, though. Was it the repealing the Immovable Properties Act?
It was a general election in 1992.
Oh, yeah, that happened as well.
Who came in power in 1992?
Hubert Alexander Ingram the First.
See, and remember I said it's not a political speech.
Right.
But it is a political speech.
I hear you.
Let's go quickly to the call and let's get the next
we
quote
get
there.
back. Yeah.
Go ahead, caller. You're on the Guardian Radio AM with C.A. Newry. Of course, Aaron Green is reading some excerpts from a speech that is dated November 25th, a secret speech that few Bahamians know about because it's a private meeting and you're not supposed to know. We're not supposed to know about it. Go ahead. Call Gern once. Call Gern twice. We can hang up on that. Sorry about that. Go ahead. Continue, Aaron. Call him back again. Producer, patch that caller through again. Go ahead, caller. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, it's Aaron Green, Newry Show.
It is.
Good morning, sir. Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, I'm calling in reference to this speech made by the Prime Minister with the Life of Key Group.
Yes, sir.
Well, you all just touched on the fact that the Movable Properties Act was repealed in 1992.
Well, it was repealed under the Ingram era. I'm not certain the exact year.
Okay, fine. Replaced by the International Personal Land Holdings Act.
Yes, I think so. Yes.
But all of that says, and it seems like you two are very akin to most of the laws of the Bahamas. Now, there's a personal thing going on with what is happening with my properties at Pittstown, Crooked Island, right? And the Prime Minister said he would move every stumbling block for Bahamians. But what they're failing to do is to respond to a letter I wrote in November past maybe a year to update the rejection of Pittstown's request for approval to extend that runway that is still operating illegally. It's like the government is condoning Pittstown's flouting and avoiding of the statute laws of the Bahamas, namely the International Personal Land Holdings Act, the Planning and Subdivisions Rhode Island Act, Chapter 257, Section 3, Section 4, and Section 10 of that, and Section 3, Section 4, and Section 9 of the International Personal Land Holdings Act, and a simple request I made to them, written to Ms. Felicia Woods-Hanna, the director. I was instructed by Mr. David Davids, who is the permanent secretary now, to write to her.
Yes, I appreciate what you're saying, right? But it sounds like one of those personal cases that where we're not prepared to hash out now.
No. This is short. It's not hashing out short, right? The thing here is to remove the stumbling blocks for all Bahamians, but just a response letter to my letter I can't get from them.
Understood.
So moving forward is hindering me to clear up and close up something that's been dragging through the court since 2005 that Pittstown put before the court, not having approval from the Bahamas Investment Authority.
And I wish you good luck with that, right? Because I hear you and I understand your frustration, and I'm hoping that the relevant authorities respond to you promptly.
Absolutely. Also, get a lawyer. Have your lawyer submit the letter to the office of whomever it needs to go to.
Or sue for the information.
Just escalate it with legal support.
And I want to go to the next call because the phone line's lit up. I mean, all kind of green, right? And then the newspaper speaks for the Freedom of Information Act, and the Director of Communication mentioned it too. Not saying that, not that the Prime Minister doesn't have it as important, just that he is concentrating on a few things that is as important, but it's his privy now to do. And having that in my back of my head, the Freedom of Information Act, and then the Life of Key secret meeting, right? Having the two of them go forward, I'm concerned. I'm concerned about information. But let's go to the caller stem. Though.
Yeah.
Go ahead, caller. Can you hear me?
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Aaron. Good morning, Mr. Newry.
Morning.
Listen, I'm afraid to comment. Is it illegal to comment on a private speech given by my Prime Minister?
The Prime Minister's speech can't be private.
It is private. They said it was private. And it accidentally got leaked out, so says the press secretary.
Well, here's what you do. You comment directly on what you read in the article in Speech at Life at Key PM hits at economic inequalities. Don't you? This is a perfect example. You be careful. If you have the speech in your possession, don't read from the speech directly. Only comment on what it is that you would have read in the paper or heard on the radio
The director,
from the news
the director
sites.
hinted that the speech is the speech. It just leaked out.
You know, because I'm trying to figure out if this is the same prime minister we all voted for, that goes about on our penny to do whatever he does prime ministerly. You know, even travel to Barbados and Trinidad and wherever else
And Bermuda.
on our dime, and even to Life with Key to have I know what was a very expensive lunch. I'm trying to figure out if saying that I'm paying for it, if it's still illegal for me to comment on it.
Now, see,
It's weird.
This
It's
is
really weird.
Hold on, this is it here. You don't know if we paying for the lunch. We
I thought
paying for the
lunch was
gas.
free.
We paying for the
invited-
gas.
You invite me, I got to eat for free.
But
You know?
I appreciate the sentiment shared.
Yeah, because I mean, like I'm trying to figure out in the Guardian where it said that he said freedom of information is not important. You know, it's not top priority. However, his press. Why do they always contradict each other though?
See, and here's, I tell you what it is, because it does sound extremely contradictory, right? It's one of the questions, it's one of the reasons why I wanted to understand the structure of the new ministry, Social Services, Information, and Broadcasting. But it's like two things could be true at the same time, right? Is it possible that state actors are doing a not so good job, a poor job of disseminating what's happening, why it's happening, and what it is the Prime Minister is actually saying?
Thank you very much, caller. How important is this Freedom of Information Act? Is it that important?
It's extremely important, but I tell you what, and this is what I meant, like two things could be true at the same time, right? The Prime Minister is speaking to providing solutions for the everyday struggle of the majority of Bahamians, the majority of Bahamians existing below the poverty line to above the poverty line, but not necessarily making a livable wage, right? Mm-hmm. Bang. But the Freedom of Information Act is equally important in a different way because the Freedom of Information Act is about ensuring the integrity of state systems.
So you don't appreciate this leaked document? Would the Freedom of Information Act ensure that we got this document, or we still would have had to wait until someone leak it?
There's no guarantee that a fully functioning Freedom of Information Act would have given us access to this particular speech, A, at all, B, within the time required or the time necessary to engage in a relevant public discourse about what's happening. You tell me, oh, you could have it in 10 years, or you could have it in 2 years.
Yeah.
Right? That's a bit late. I may need it right now. Is it of a security, is the security interests or risks involved warrant this not being accessible by the public?
Let's go to this next caller. And remember that this speech is about post 50 years, the new Bahamas that the Prime Minister's administration plans to address to create a new Bahamas, because something happened in 1992 that stopped the upward trajectory of the Bahamas.
Now you saying that, right?
That's what I read.
Right. That's what
Was implied.
And I'm saying perhaps we need to juxtapose the speech in its entirety to the article to get a real sense of whether that's what is actually being
Let's try to do that.
implied.
We might need 2 days for this. But let me get to the caller there. Go ahead. Get ready to read the next part.
Yes,
there.
sir. Yes, sir.
Go ahead, caller. Can you hear me?
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Green and Mr. Newry.
Yes, sir.
Newry, hats off, because, I had sent a text a little earlier, but that's one of the questions I wanted to ask the minister about the Freedom of the Information Act. And so the gentleman that called, I started to remember something that I read, right? So this Removable Properties Act, I can't remember the details of it. This is actually designed to empower generational landholders, right? That was the basis of it, Aaron?
I'm still not sure. But you go
what
on.
I'm saying is they said they was going to do that, where they would monetize generational properties on the island to empower Bahamians. But
Yes.
said to be done. And also,
NIF.
Yeah, but the Freedom of the Information Act, and it needs to be implemented. But it seems so tumultuous for them. But what I wanted to touch on, really and truly, was the fact that in America, there's something called the Logan's Act. And so this has nothing to do with the PM, because the other prime ministers and parties have done this, meet with transnational companies and multi-billionaires to discuss the people's business in private. Now, it shouldn't be done. So it just highlights the fact that we are on a plantation. And so I want you, before the show go and read the Logan's Act of America, which is designed to do specifically that. You cannot have private meetings with billionaires and transnational companies without public oversight. Until then, all of this is BS we're talking, man.
Thank you, 52. That remembers me. I like old people language
Remembers
now.
you, not remind. Go ahead.
That reminds me of the meeting, the contentious meeting that Trump had with Putin, where Trump said he's going in with no, you're supposed to have support staff.
Yeah.
Trump said, no, I'm going in to talk to Putin by myself.
Yeah.
In Russia.
In Russia.
In Putin House.
In Putin House.
I mean, in the government,
Yeah, I
Putin
understand.
government house.
Yeah. Odd.
Extremely odd.
But let's do some more reading. We got to do that Logan talk soon, but I want to get most of this information for those who didn't get access to speech, and of course contrast it to the Guardian's write-up on December 30th, right?
29th. Friday the 29th.
Friday the 29th. So go and get the Guardian for that day.
All right. So again, we're reading from the Nassau Guardian, Friday the 29th of December, 2023. The headline is, In Speech at Life at Key, PM hits at economic equalities. We continue to read, Mr. Newry. I had it. I'm coming right now. Quote, in the context of where we find ourselves today, I see strong similarities between the desire for fundamental transformational change that existed then and the present desire for fundamental transformational change that exists now. Davis said that with the first change of government since independence taking place in 1992 under Prime Minister Hubert Ingraham, national development was characterized by a more, quote, managerial approach, close quotes. The status quo was left largely intact, he said. A quick glance at some of the biggest initiatives of that time reflects an ideological shift which removed certain economic protections for Bahamians that had been implemented during the Pindling years, Davis said. I just stick a pin there. That's speaking to, I see now why it is that you inferred what you inferred from the article, the critique of Ingraham and the Ingraham administration. He pointed to the repeal of the Immovable Property Act, the privatization of the Bahamas Telecommunications Company, the development of the Arawak Container Port, and the extensive roadworks initiatives, saying that they, quote, all allowed private interests to profit magnificently from government institutions, close quotes. He continues, quotation, other social initiatives such as the aliberalization of the radio airwaves introduced similar ostensibly free market changes.
Wait, he critiquing the liberalization of the airways? He's saying that he would have done it differently? Anyway, I didn't
He
understand
said
that.
it introduced similar ostensibly...
It's a critique. He's critiquing it.
Right.
That it is not a good thing.
So opening the airwaves could not be the bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a lack of policy creation with foresight? Like, did you not create good policy?
But did he critique the number business? Because didn't the same thing happen with the number business? Or he is going to just conveniently leave that out? I'm not sure. We need to get that.
Well, let me continue. Let me continue reading. Davis added, this proliferation of media and especially the radio call-in format was the early version of the social media landscape on which we live today. While the language of the time was about the virtues of capitalism and so on, in fact, public money was used to generously subsidize many of these projects and create protections against competition and other market forces. And so we see that the priorities of national development shifted once again. Privatization did not change the basic economic model and instead shifted the emphasis to the promotion and protection of established economic interest.
Surely he mentioned gambling. Because remember, the people asked for a national lottery, right? And a particular administration said, no, we're going to put it in private hands and make sure that only them get access to it and nobody else join in it ever. Surely he mentioned it. Surely he mentioned that. No?
I have not
This is a political
seen
speech.
it mentioned in this article. I have to go through the 61 pages.
61
So I
pages.
want to apologize to the audience. It's 61 pages.
And we got to go through this, right? But let's go to the caller and go back to the reading again, right?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry about that, caller. Guardian Radio AM in the morning. CA, go ahead.
Hello?
Turn on your radio and go ahead.
Yes. How you all doing?
Good, thank you.
I want you to listen to me carefully and closely right here. So, a lot of this, what they speaking to as far as what you all read, is actually so similar, or it's a process that the IMF engage in, known as structural adjustment. This is a part of what they call the Washington Consensus. And from what you all are saying, it's quite evident that what is happening in the Bahamas. What is happening now is that the more debt that we incur, it infers structural readjustment, which leads to privatization. That's a part of the whole laissez-faire capitalistic scheme. And because the more in debt you go, the bank will control your national assets, your land, your utilities. But those things can be auctioned off to private business owners. Literally, what is going on right now, listen to me carefully, is there is a movement towards completely moving government regulations and any form of protection that Bahamians could have on the open trade market, because the government is now being systematically forced to give that regulation and that protection away.
Okay, thank you very much, caller.
Thank you very much, caller. I hang that up right there.
Thank you very, very much.
I wanted to continue reading Aaron. And I didn't want to be race beaten, right? And again, trying to find out who is the Prime Minister speaking to. Bahamians have concluded that it's no longer a racial divide inequality happening inside the Bahamas. It's a commerce or class, right? It's a class thing. Now, the Prime Minister is hinting to a bygone era of a racial divide which controlled the class divide, right? And he mentioned the word families, right? So the same families have an advantage. I want to know if any of these families are black families, or these are the same white families, forgive me for using that existed pre-67, because he's talking about a time that's pre-67 that is continuing in terms of economic inequality. So if there are particular families that have a significant advantage, right, who, because of the election of 1992, with the F&M, allowed them to take advantage of their head start, right? Can we still say there's just a class thing and not necessarily a race thing, since it's still the same white families?
You think your money green is the same as their money green?
They're green.
I'm just saying that it's a misnomer, right? That all money is equal. All money is not equal. It's just a misnomer. But I don't think it's race baiting either, right? We talk about socioeconomics. Socioeconomics establishes that there's no separation between race and class, right? They are not mutually exclusive. The way that they operate in tandem, right? And so we're not race baiting. We're looking at real dynamics that exist and that we currently seeing the effect of.
I want you to continue to read, because again, the Prime Minister went to Life a Key. A particular set of Bahamians live Life a Key. I'm assuming he's addressing Bahamians. And he's talking about inequality in the Bahamas and how he's planning to rectify it post 50-year anniversary. And he's going to put in systems in place to make sure that equality, or
And so we see that the priorities of national development shifted once again. Privatization did not change the basic economic model and instead shifted the emphasis to the promotion and protection of established economic interests. Notwithstanding the stated goal of having the expanded wealth trickle down to the wider society, it is not clear that there was in fact any beneficial trickle-down effect. But it meant that those who already had significant capital or those who were already able to raise capital did very well. The shareholder society as envisioned never materialized, instead manifested growing disparities in income. Close quotes. That was the Prime Minister speaking. Continue in the article. We're continuing to read from the article In Speech at Life at Key PM Hits at Economic Inequalities. The article goes on, continues. Davis said the Christie years shifted the focus back to a national development agenda, with a more centrist blend of the approaches of Pindling and Ingram. Quote, big, bold initiatives like anchor projects, the Bahamas Agricultural and Marine Science Institute, urban renewal, and national health insurance sought to extend the agenda of the quiet revolution, he said.
Can you pause right there? Mm-hmm. Any information with the I group yet? The development there in Maguana? I mean, it's a big thing there. Nothing yet? See, mind you, I appreciate the critique and the heralding that the Prime Minister is doing of the Christie administration, of course, all of the PLP administrations, right?
Oh, yes.
And have it juxtaposed to the FNM administration.
Yes,
right?
yes.
But I'm starting to think this is a political speech to the life of key people. When you... See, I want to know, why did the vast majority of Bahamians moved away from the PLP in 92? Why did a vast majority of Bahamians move away from the Christie administration if they were doing so well? What happened to us that caused us to say, man, no, we need a change? What happened to us that we keep on going back and forth? Something about our consciousness that's saying that, despite what the Prime Minister is saying, that we were the best, we did everything right. Why did the people couldn't see this rightness and voted contrary to this particular...
Well, I mean, that lays a fundamental question on the table. Can you be doing anything right after 25 years of straight years of rule? Can you be doing anything right? Is 25 years just too long? Is it just intolerable in a democratic system?
Some say it's the best time of the Bahamian history. And this 92... We get in the decline. Let's go to the caller.
Did they cut the sentence short? Some people say it's the best time for some people.
But they did sell BTC. We still trying to find out why. Anyway, let's go to the call.
And where?
Go ahead, caller. Can you hear me? Caller going once. Caller going twice. We can hang up from you, caller. Sorry about that. Go ahead. You hear me, caller? No? No? Just making sure. Okay, go ahead, Aaron.
We continue to read from the article In Speech at Lyford Key, PM Hits at Economic Inequalities from the 29th of December, 2023. Newry, you see the call come up?
Yeah. Let's go to the call.
Yeah, let's go to the call.
Caller, can you hear me now?
Yeah, hello.
Good morning.
Go ahead.
Yeah, morning. Yeah, Aaron, give
Yes,
me
sir.
a number. I want to talk to you about something, please.
4280719.
428.
0719.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Aaron.
We continue to read. The doubling of investment in education also signaled a return to Pindling's ideological roots. And of course, the launch of a formal national development plan shifted the idea of governance and planning into something far more structured, stable, and long-term. But the basic economic model remained unchanged. In tourism, the focus shifted to high volume rather than high value tourism. Davis said that in many ways, it's far too soon to tell what the legacy of the Minnis administration will be. Quote, it is simply not good enough to say that the previous administration suffered from bad luck, close quotes. He said, quote, a hurricane and a pandemic, challenging as they are, do not sufficiently explain what I call the obvious incompetence and blatant lack of compassion, which were the hallmarks of that administration.
Again, who is the Prime Minister speaking to?
I don't know. I also want to know, what is he speaking about? Because surely he could not be speaking about the breaches in constitutional practice and rights that everyone was aware of, but nobody in the legal community challenged, even with the QC behind their name, and now they have a KC behind their name, and there's no statute of limitations on the WIBE. Pardon me, I got a little...
Carried away.
Yeah.
You believe that Peter's better than Paul, or Peter's not better than Paul, and all is the same. But clearly, the Prime Minister is addressing a certain set of people. And his objective of this speech is to say that this current administration is better than the last administration, and he's setting out a case. But my point is, this is a secret meeting that we were not meant to have privy to. Bahamians should be concerned. Because what is the agenda? What is the intent of this meeting? These people were gathered for a particular reason. They had this particular speech to get a particular result.
Pause. You just open the can of worms. The speech is one thing. Should we have had access to the discourse, the conversation, the discussion in its entirety, right? The formal discussion, what you talk about when you're standing against the wall on your way to the bathroom, that's not necessarily for us to hear. But when we ended the year with talk of confidential settlements and clauses and state actors assuring us that there are just some things that we don't need to know, should we have access to the entirety of the discussion, not just the Prime Minister's presentation, but all of the presentations given, all of the statements formally made in front of a mic, and anything uttered in the question and answer period?
See, how many of these meetings has our Prime Minister had?
We don't know.
Right? Especially when he says a secret meeting and leaked documents. And then you mention the point that we have had secret settlements. Then you mention the point again that the Freedom of Information Act is not important at this present time because we have other things that is as important as our agenda, right? And when you start putting all these things together, should we be concerned as a people? But let's continue reading.
We continue from the article. In speech at Lyford Key, PM hits at economic inequalities. He said, evidence suggests that Hurricane Dorian and the COVID-19 pandemic were used as cover, quote, for some rather unsavory practices, close quote. We have also seen signs of systematic efforts to hand over some of the ordinary functions of the state to the private sector, resulting in unjustified losses of public revenue and poorer services to citizens, Davis
You know we got to
added.
say, stick a pin there right there.
Yes, sir.
Didn't this administration, I wouldn't say the Prime Minister, but even though I'm sure he made a speech, made accusation, question, interrogate, I use the word interrogate, people from Lyford Key to say that they mismanaged the whole hurricane response, Dorian response? Did that happen, or that's a different...
Repeat that, please. Say that again.
I can move it from our leader and
Yeah.
say this administration interrogated people from Lyford Key. One particular woman in particular who was in charge of the hurricane response. They live Lyford Key, right? Perhaps he's addressing those people. Say, hey, what words? They used that sentence before. What accusing them again? What is it again?
Quote. Well, let's start the entire sentence.
Go ahead.
Davis said evidence suggests that Hurricane Dorian and the COVID-19 pandemic were used as cover, quote, for some rather unsavory practices.
Unsavory
close
practices.
Quotes.
Finish.
Sorry, I had an article here. You know, every time,
you
and I got
paused.
this article there.
And the phone light up.
And there's a headline right there. We have also seen signs of systematic efforts to hand over some of the ordinary functions of the state to the private sector.
The feed network, people. Go ahead. Finish. I'm sorry. I get excited.
I was thinking of car inspections.
No. We have private citizens doing car inspection. Anyway,
Resulting in unjustified losses. I was just thinking.
Yes,
I wasn't stating.
I know.
Unjustified losses of public revenue and poorer services to citizens, Davis added. Speaking of his own administration, Davis said its driving principle is rooted in the concept of economic justice, which is based on the simple but profound idea that an economy will be more successful if it is fairer. It seeks to redress some of the inequalities created by inherited systems.
So that rebuff your talk about the car inspection thing, because that's saying that ain't gonna happen ever.
There's a phone
Let's go to the
ringing
phone line.
somewhere in heaven.
Let's go to the phone call. Go ahead, caller. Can you hear me?
I'm talking good evening once again, Mr. Newry.
Go ahead.
My conversation, my
Make sure we talk about what we're talking about.
Yeah, hold on. My comment to the conversation is, first of all, if we start talking truth, it sets you free.
Make it quick.
Yes, hang on. Oh, jeez. Miss Green, if you saw my video biography about my life, from
No,
4
we're
years
talking
old
about the
to now.
conversation on hand, and I running out of time. Just make
Yes,
it
sir,
quick.
but what I'm saying is, if we notice in our past, we've always passed down everything that we wanted by mouth. But if we look at our past as far as economics is concerned and land ownership is concerned, every piece of property we buy was owned by the elite families of this country, one way or the other than the crown land. If you're going to buy any property now from any private institution, you could hardly afford it anymore. Other than government go out there and build some government homes. It's very, very difficult. And unless we start giving land to the Bahamian people, by the time they reach old enough to build a house, can't be able to go to the bank to get a mortgage.
Okay. Let's go to the next caller there.
Y'all won't build too much house in hurricane zone.
Go ahead, caller. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. A godly day is this dark in a voice. We need justice law and order in the Bahamas here. Newry,
Go ahead.
a godly day to you also, Aaron.
Good morning, blessings.
Morning. You were doing fine with your communication and your dialogue until you put the word perhaps in there.
Okay.
You don't need to be speculating. People be listening, and some people more intelligent than you think. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Don't be down on the Bahamian people. Don't speculate. Speak truth so we could be focused and know what to do with our votes.
Yes, sir.
Please, no speculating. Thank you.
Just
Absolutely.
vote well. And vote good.
Anymore. To vote perhaps.
Perhaps.
And don't tell nobody how you vote.
No, make it be a secret ballot.
All right. No more perhaps.
No more perhaps.
Tell it like it is.
Like it is.
Thank you.
Okay. Go ahead, Aaron. Continue reading.
You could tell it like it is anyway, you know, including on the other side of the jail cell, which is why I try to be measured with my words. Brayman, thank you so much. Let's continue that sentence. We're going to end the article. It seeks to redress some of the inequalities created by the inherited system by giving everyone a fair chance. Most should prosper, the Prime Minister said. What does this mean in practice? We want to have in place the economic structures to ensure that people earn a fair and decent income. We want workers to earn not just a minimum wage, but a livable wage. We will work to make the system of taxation fairer. Davis said his administration will ensure that public investments in education, housing, transportation, and other sectors benefit the many.
We can talk about this livable wage. The livable wage is like $400. The government went up to $250, right? That could take some task. Who is he saying is going to be responsible for getting us from A to B? Anyway, we're going to take a quick break here. We only have about 10 more minutes left, so we can take this break and then we'll come back and then wrap things up. This has been Guardian Radio on the AM with C.A. Newry. Aaron Green is with me reading this secret leaked document that the Prime Minister had a speech in Life the Key November 25th, and now it's circulating all over social media. The Guardian newspaper, National Guardian, had a report on November 29th, which is Friday.
December 29th.
December 29th,
Yeah.
which is Friday. You can pick that newspaper up, so read it yourself and get some information on it. And we'll be right back.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Are you ready to catapult your business into the spotlight? Introducing Guardian Business Boots.
Ignite your success, and it's absolutely free to join.
Did you say free?
Yes, Free! Guardian Business Boost is not just a program. It's your ticket to unprecedented visibility and growth. The Guardian Media Group is committed to helping the Bahamas prosper by creating new opportunities for small businesses, who are the key drivers of that growth.
How does it work?
It works by first registering your business with the Guardian Business Boost at thenassauguardian.com. Then, each month, Guardian Media will pick and boost 5 businesses with 1 month of free ads across our multiple advertising platforms. The Nassau Guardian newspaper, website, Guardian Radio 96.9, Star 106 Hits, and all social media platforms. Catapult your business into the spotlight with Guardian Business Boost. Sign up for free today at thenassauguardian.com.
Love the show? Want to give your support? Become a sponsor today. Call 302-2300 for our rates and packages. That's 302-2300. Become a sponsor on Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
And welcome back to Guardian Radio AM. On the break, Aaron and I were discussing whether we should transition or conclude it. And I said, Aaron, we have about 4 minutes.
But this story hot, man, Mr. When I say it's hot, it's just very interesting. And I have to say a word.
Go ahead.
I have to say a word. The headline, this is a story from Friday's Tribune. Skydive company told to stop advertising its jumps. A skydiving excursion provider has been warned by the Civil Aviation Authority of the Bahamas to not advertise any jumps until given further approval. Vance Johnson of Skydive Bahamas is hoping to start jumps in the new year. But documents seen by Tribune Business sent to Mr. Johnson from the Civil Aviation Authority of the Bahamas, signed by its lawyer Ryan Sands, says that despite being warned by the regulator to not advertise any jumps prior to approval, Skydive Bahamas nonetheless has been advertising on their various social media pages. The letter dated December 7, 2023 said, quote, "We urge Skydive Bahamas to come into CAAB and gain authorization to conduct skydiving operations before holding out to the public that Skydive Bahamas is authorized to conduct such an activity. This is to carry out CAB's mandate of ensuring the safety and security of the operation and the public who participates in it. Quote, consequently, a Skydive Bahamas Adventures skydiving parachute jumping operation certificate expired on November 10, 2023. You do not have the authorization to conduct skydiving operations until your company has secured a current skydiving parachute jumping operating certificate. If you are found to be conducting operations without the required authorization, enforcement action will immediately follow," close quotes. Vance Johnson, Skydive Bahamas chief executive, told Tribune Business he plans to make his first jump in the first week in January and has made application to Civil Aviation Authority Bahamas requesting permission. He also said, "I just finished talking to my pilots and my workers, asking them to confirm with me that they will be here for next week. I'm getting too many requests by email of people wanting to jump, and I'm just waiting on them." So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the trigger because I have done everything that Civil Aviation Authority of the Bahamas has asked me to do. I've absorbed all of the losses and I've kept quiet about it, but I think as a Bahamian and as a professional, I've exhausted all avenues, especially as a small man. Calls to the Civil Aviation Authority were unsuccessful up to press time. Mr. Johnson has also sent further correspondence to Nico Davis, Director of Family Island Airports at the Airport Authority, and various people at the authority. Mr. Johnson wrote, "We have been losing up to $25,000 per week plus financial, keeping lease for planes and staff on hand to begin operations, and public embarrassment while waiting for approval of operations that have already been approved. We have discussed this in an email that is also attached. It's crucial for us to begin operating our businesses at a successful level in all areas, starting with our services. Unfortunately, we are currently unable to fulfill the requests of our customers who email us daily to purchase tickets." Bang. I just wanted to read that article. I'm glad to know that the company understands that it cannot engage in any jumps until they have been authorized to do so. It doesn't matter if you get permission in principle in this matter. The insurance don't kick in until the authorization kick in. I just wanted to read that into the record, Mr. Newry.
Yes. So moving forward, this is the Bahamian people now. Right. I encourage you to get the Nassau Guardian newspaper to read
Friday,
the article.
29th.
Friday.
You can go online, Nassau Guardian, just search Nassau Guardian. The official Nassau Guardian website will pop up.
And for those on social media who get leaked documents, I encourage you to search it out and then cut snippets of it and have social commentary on it. In regards, and remember, this is a leaked document. This is verbiage used by the Director of Communication. One, again, note that the Nassau Guardian said that they tried to get the speech itself. And what was the word they used on the first my paper going? So use that.
Leaked?
This first line here, what they used when they said they asked for it. I had you read it earlier, right here.
Yeah. Saying it was a private meeting.
Said that when asked to get a copy of it, it said it was you cannot get a copy of it. The Bahamian people can get access to it to read it because it was a private meeting with Liferkey. Our Prime Minister had a private meeting with Liferkey where the media could not get access to what he said. Therefore, the Bahamian people could not get access to what he said. And when you read the document, you find out that they're speaking mostly badly about the FNM. Of course, I think they're kind of right still. But the point is that it was a private meeting with Liferkey and said, basically telling them they plan to do some equity shifting, right? And that the families, he mentioned families, whoever these families are, better brace themselves. That's my word. That moving forward, they plan to embrace what Perry Christie, with Sir Lyndon, the mechanisms that they put in place to better the Bahamas, that this administration, the Davis administration, will be embracing those mechanisms to make the Bahamas a better social place.
Absolutely. I just want to say there's an article in last year's paper, last week, about the progress on the National Development Plan Committee.
We still doing that?
I mean, we are still doing that, but this speech seems to be the closest thing to a national plan we've seen in a long time. So I'm going to delve into it.
Yeah. Anyway, tomorrow is Thursday. I hope if I have a guest, Aaron, I'll just see what we have. We'll just see what happens. Anyway, Guardian Radio on the AM with C.A. Newry. This is a Mashup Wednesday, Man Down Wednesday with On the Clock with Aaron Green. Have a beautiful day.